What is up, everyone? I am Jordan, or JK390, and we are finally continuing in Warcraft 3. We are on Chapter 3, Into the Realm Eternal, on the Undead Campaign. Now, I am recording this post-commentary. I recorded this video back in July of 2018, and of course it is now January of 2020. It has been a good while since I last played this. Oh no, sorry, it was September when I recorded this. Anyway.
The wondrous, eternal Kel'Thuzad. I haven't been here since I was a boy.
Be wary. The elves likely wait in ambush.
The frail elves do not concern me, Necromancer. Our forces are strengthened with every foe we slay.
Don't be too overconfident, Death Knight. The elves must not be taken lightly.
We shall see. Bring forth the prisoner. Where is the entrance to your land, elf?
You will never enter Kel'Thuzad, fallen prince. The woods themselves protect our borders, and the enchanted elf gates protect our capital.
Your precious gates will not stop me any more than these trees, little elf. Bring up the meat wagons. We'll make our own entrance.
The energies of this place are strong. Kill the elves, level their structures. This location is perfect for your base.
It'll be a pleasure.
The undead are advancing. Alert the sentries.
And here we are. So I am recording post-commentary. I obviously recorded this video a very long time ago, and now I'm finally doing the audio. Oh, I say finally. Technically I recorded the audio while I played this live, but I lost all the audio, which is one of the reasons I stopped the series. I lost the audio but still had the video, and they announced Reforged, which was the remastered version of Warcraft 3. I considered waiting until Reforged came out, which it still hasn't, to go back and redo it, but I finally decided, you know what, I've already recorded the entire game. I have finished Warcraft 3. I might as well just go back and redo all the audio. For anybody that did watch this and they hadn't watched since back in 2018 when I initially uploaded this, just to kind of give a little bit of backstory on what's happened thus far. First we did apart from the orc tutorial, we did the human campaign, which stars our character Arthas, back whenever he was a human. He was a paladin, and he's trying to do all the better and make things good for the Alliance, for his human friends, companions, etc. Unfortunately, he fell to darkness. He became a Death Knight, and is now part of the Undead Army.
Ranger General of Silver Moon. I advise you to turn back now.
It is you who should turn back, Sylvanas. Death itself has come to your land.
Do your worst. The Elf Gate to the Inner Kingdom is protected by our most powerful enchantments.
Thy will be done. This better be good.
And now I'm just kind of wandering about as the undead. So because I'm doing this in post-commentary as opposed to just recording a video and uploading it, I can already say that this is a longer video. This one was about an hour-long recording session. So I'm going to be cutting this one up, and as in I'm going to just kind of cut in the parts that matter and are relevant. In the future, if you don't want that, just let me know. You know, if you want the full uncut hour of nothing happening, you're just watching the gameplay and I'm talking occasionally, just let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to be splicing in and out of the game. But for the most part, the initial section of this is just me building my base. So there's not really much to add to it. Since this is so much later, if somebody is just starting on this episode, which if so, it's, you know, perfectly fine. You're not really missing too much. But if you do, just to give a little bit of backstory for myself in terms of the Warcraft as a series. World of Warcraft is something I've never really played or gotten into. I've seen like a friend play it a little bit, and that's about it. But the original RTS Warcraft from, depending on when you gauge it, I'd say 93 on DOS and stuff, was my first venture into PC gaming. Played it a lot with my dad. I've got a lot of good nostalgia for the original Warcraft and Warcraft 2. Warcraft 3 I don't really have as much nostalgia for. My dad never really played this one. I played this one on my own forever ago when it first came out as well, in the Frozen Thrones. But I still have a warm spot in my heart for this, which I'm sure if I had... I'm not going to call my dad and be like, hey Dad, you want to come over and play Warcraft with me?
Summoning is complete.
Mainly because he's not as much of a gamer, but I'm sure he would probably have enjoyed this one had he actually looked into it. So in terms of the overarching story of all the stuff that the books or the WoW or any of that stuff incorporates, I'm not very knowledgeable. Of course I know the story of Arthas, following the main story and what goes on, and I know Jaina Proudmoore, who also a human that fights alongside you in the human campaign, but of course their relationship's kind of broken when he becomes an undead. Most of this level is supposed to be using the meat wagons to kind of tear down trees and open paths so that you can attack the elf armies.
Thy will be done.
My main thought while I was working on this, I remember being, well, I don't want to start getting perpetually attacked by enemies. So rather than destroying trees and stuff, I'm just going to start building my base and forces up now, so that once I finally do decide to tear through, I can just sort of blitz the enemy. Turn my defense into just a straight through attack and take out all the enemies as I can. So now that I was able to cut out a substantial amount, here we are finally breaking through the woods. We've got our base and everything set up, and pretty soon we will be sending in our armies. Now again, if this is the style you prefer, where I just kind of cut to the action and cut out the boring stuff, which is moments of silence and building armies and bases and etc., let me know. But other than that, I'm just going to cut everything because you're not missing anything other than me kind of contemplating what to build, which, because this is all post-commentary now, I won't be doing. I'll just kind of be sitting in silence watching myself play.
Tread lightly.
It's like some weird ego trip. So I was kind of using Arthas as a scout. I didn't know what all would be coming, but I figured if... See, at that point I was like, oh, I can start bringing the enemies back, but of course they turned back around. The idea was to bring them back to the meat wagons, so that I could just shoot them from afar. But now I need the Necromancer and everything to go with him to kind of send in my forces. Once again, I'm kind of trying to just annoy the enemies to bring them in so that I don't get shot by whatever those towers are. But unfortunately, the elves are much smarter than that. Again, it's been, you know, a year and a few months since I last played this. So I don't fully remember my thought process, but I'm trying my best to kind of regale the tale that was spinning in my mind as I played this. See, at that point I think I should have realized that tower wasn't going to shoot me, so I probably could have stayed up front and fought more, but I still had enough where, you know, now the elf soldiers were trapped up here. And I could start creating my undead army to scout ahead for me instead. So I scouted the whole area, I realized there weren't any more elves there, and that I wouldn't be shot by the towers, so I was like, okay, I'm going to send in my armies before these skeletons disappear and try and take out the buildings here. In hindsight, unless I do here, I should have probably sent the skeletons up to start scouting more. But I didn't. And if I did, I probably would have saw this attack coming, so I could have stopped them from hurting my meat wagons. Necromancers are some of my favorite units in the undead army. Because they're, you can get them early on, and you can quickly build a smaller just force to defend yourself, using both your fallen allies and enemies. It's a pretty helpful and quick way to build an army using a few necromancers. And of course they are also much weaker than standard soldiers, so that happens quite a bit, but regardless. So here's where I decided to start building a second base in the first area I took out. I knew there wasn't going to be any other way that the enemies could attack me, because obviously I cleared the whole path to the right, and the only way to get there is through the bridge. So I figured I'd start making an area there so I could start building in forces. At the time, if I had to guess, because I was recording the commentary live at the time, I felt like I couldn't make a full army and attack with it because I needed to progress the game, because I didn't want to bore anybody that was watching it. It's kind of like how I play games like XCOM, whenever I'm playing it on a video or stream versus how I play XCOM if I play it for fun. It's a much, much slower process, which some people might totally be behind, which is great. But I feel like I need to keep stuff moving, otherwise it's just going to be, watching a guy play chess is ultimately what it is. Chess can be fun, and it can be really, really fun if you can get some good plays going, but I've never really thought of chess as something that can be fun to watch, unless you're watching, like, amazing pro players, which I wouldn't consider myself. Those healers back there behind the elves get very annoying later in this campaign. Because they can just keep, well, as you can see there, keep their soldiers alive while you're killing them, and there's not much you can do about it. It's a very good counter to the necromantic armies. I'm bringing in entire forces of their dead armies, and then they just keep one person alive forever to kill all of them. Those towers, once again, I couldn't remember if they would shoot me or anything, so I wanted to keep distant, which is why the meat wagon was shooting at it, which of course it does in fact shoot me. But I couldn't bring the skeletons back at this point because I needed them to tank for the meat wagons. At least long enough for me to take out that tower. Yeah, I think it was at this point I realized the importance of taking out those clerics, or healers, or priests, or whatever they are in Warcraft, because I can't remember. I think they're priests. Yeah, where's that change in Warcraft, like in the world of Warcraft? Because it goes from all of the factions being their own individual races to the Alliance just being an alliance of humans, elves, etc. Or were they always like that? Was it once they incorporated the elves as a class and all of that, did they just become part of the Alliance and humans were humans? But the Horde were most definitely orcs. But then the Horde started encompassing like Tauren and Undead and all of that stuff, right? Maybe? I don't know. As I mentioned, my knowledge of World of Warcraft and the extended stuff in Warcraft isn't very strong, so by all means, please educate me, so that I don't sound like a fool talking about this stuff that I don't understand. Sure, at this point I probably could have built or started working on a full army to really help fight all of this stuff, but honestly, you know, again, it was a longer process, but I felt like I needed to, again, like I said, keep moving, but also, the strategy I'm using works. I didn't have to speedrun it. I just, again, wanted to make it feel like there was still action happening. Which I realize is strange because, I don't know, I think there's a mentality, especially when making YouTube videos, that you have to have a certain personality. Which, I mean, if you want to be a successful channel, is probably true. But if you're a crappy channel like True Friends Gaming, and you have somebody boring and bland like me commentating, I'm not going to go out of my way to try and be something I'm not. But I do, for some reason, feel like it needs to be faster paced, which is strange because I feel like if anybody's going to watch Warcraft, especially an older Warcraft like this, it's not going to be people that are like, you know, it's not going to be kids that have been raised to have shorter attention spans. Also, they are sending catapults or ballistas, or yeah, behind my forces, so I had to stop that pretty quick. Because God forbid they send an army of siege equipment into my base and start taking out the camps while I'm taking out theirs. We've got a couple more necromancers to try and bring in any new skeletons I can to scout ahead. I've got my ghouls down here, the ones that are done cutting down trees for me. And I've got that little spot to the right where it's their command center that's just getting extra resources from their workers. Things I could have killed, but I didn't want them to run into the building and start shooting arrows at my meat wagons. Their hero, was it Sylvia Windrunner? She's nothing like spectacular, but she very quickly would become annoying because, well, obviously it's an elf archer, so they've got the range and can do enough damage to take out the meat wagons pretty quick. But once Arthas gets up there, she's not really much of a threat. At this point, of course, I realized that the workers weren't hiding inside the base and shooting at my people, so I just cleared everything out. I had enough force that I could, and I started moving everybody forward again. My skeletal scout army, which half just died because their time expired, of course found the next encampment region. And the hope before they died there was that I could take out the ballista. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, but I do remember being like, wow, if I could just have taken that out, I could just move my guys up and finish off that area. Or, even better, if they could have just killed everybody there, I could have went up to that goblin camp and moved workers up to start a new base of operations here. Once I got the rest of the ghouls down here, I got everybody in kind of the standard formation of ghouls in the front, necromancers behind those, and the catapults in the back. Or at least I tried to. You know, a couple people got lost here, and because units, the way they move, they kind of break formation fairly quickly. I think there is a formation button, or a way you can set it where they stand in a certain stance, but I can't quite remember how it is. I don't think it's as sophisticated as the Total War series. Well, I know it's not as sophisticated as the Total War series, but in terms of you can play stuff and have it set by units where it's, cavalry's on the side and shield guys in the front, archers behind, and, etc. But I think it was basic enough that it would set units in different groups. But I might just be thinking of another RTS similar to this. Like maybe some of the ones by Ensemble, like the Age of Empires or Age of Wonder / Titans or any of those games. Again, just sending the skeleton scouts up to see what else there was. I didn't want... Like, I could have kept moving south, I think. I'm not positive, actually. I'd have to see the map again. But at this point, I think I was just making sure there weren't any enemies above me because I didn't want to get flanked. Or worse, them to sneak past me and start attacking my base. And of course, because I knew that was there now, I had to take that out for the same reasons I just gave. I don't want to get flanked, and I don't want people sneaking behind me. After luring all of the elves away from their base and tower, I just wanted to clear them out as quickly as possible so I could get the meat wagons up. Unfortunately, the meat wagons decided to get a little too close and got killed pretty quick. I do have my new fun skeletal armada. Arthas is getting unpleasantly close. Again, looking back on it, I would have probably moved him.
The restless dead await no one orders.
Let the skeletons take out the ballista, and then focus the tower. Again, as long as they're the ones tanking the hits, I'm not too worried, because they're on a timer anyway, where they'll just disappear and die after X amount of time, so whenever they're the ones being hit, it's not near as bad as if it's my actual army. The little indicator there is basically just saying, hey, you can shoot this region with your catapults to make a pathway. I'm pretty sure that's all that indicates. So if I wanted to have another way that I could move south from my main base, I could shoot and destroy those trees. But again, not really much of a point, because all that would do is, especially since I've got closer bases, all that would do was allow the enemies to have another way to attack me. Did think I remembered making more bases up ahead, but I guess I didn't. So that's alright though. Again, it was just a constant will of making armies to resupply what I lose, scouting forwards, turning dead fallen enemies into skeletons to scout further, and rinse, recycle, repeat. I don't think you recycle whenever you're washing your hair, but that's alright. Rinse, recycle, repeat. I'm still going to do it. I knew I had a small scout party here that I could, kind of use. I had to check all the little nooks and crannies again because I knew there'd be a chance of enemies hiding around. I wasn't as worried about the random, just like the rock guy back there, any of the... I don't know if it's Gaia or GAIA, but basically whenever you check scenario settings, it's the faction that's not part of any team. They're just wild enemies out in the middle of nowhere that'll attack anybody that runs past them. I wasn't as worried about them, because they're just going to kind of stand there and be annoyed if I go to where they are. The elves, however, might move forward or try and attack, or if they have a small base somewhere, of course, they will start making forces there and attack from that area. Of course, we're at the next region now, and their priest was nice enough to get up in the front line so I could quickly try and take them out. The ghouls, their job is to sit there and fight to the death until they die. And then hopefully, if I get there quick enough, the Necromancer can resurrect them into more skeletons that can then fight to the death until they die. What do you do when you wait? You let your skeleton armada go in and start taking out the next base. My aim there was just, please kill the tower. Of course, the time ran out for a lot of the skeletons, unfortunately. I'm pretty close to the end. You can see the little circle to the right of where I am. So I think I was probably just thinking if I just keep sending in forces, I should be able to, blitzkrieg them. Here I'm sending in my frontal force of my ghoul army, which is of course built to tank and die. Kill as many as they can before they get killed. Then the necromancers to rebuild my armies and do some distant damage, and of course the meat wagons that's goal, which is to take out all these extra buildings. And there you go. That is the main quest complete. And now for the ending cutscene, so...
Fall back to the second gate. Fall back!
The elf gate has fallen. Onward, my warriors! Onward to victory!
And that is the mission complete. So now that that is done, we can continue onward. There's the stats. Anybody that's curious to see those, I do remember I went through everything to show them off. But anyway, yeah, I hope people enjoyed. If you want me to cut stuff out, let me know. If you don't, let me know. I'm Jordan, JK Uther 90, and until next time, everyone, later.